Hey, I'm Pat B.
And I'm Adam Willis.
And I'm just Johnny.
I thought you were late on the cue. And this is the Geek Down on WEMF Radio.
Leaping forward bionically.
Boom. That's funky. DJ Herb, are you ready to rock? I said, are you ready to rock? Hold on, okay, back in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Geek Down here on WEMF. I am Pat B. To the side of me, we have...
Black Adam Willis. How you doing, Patrice?
I'm okay, my man. I'm doing all right.
All right.
This weekend's just kind of coasting out of the way, and we're blowing into another work week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about you over there, silent but deadly, just Johnny?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. I just partied pretty hard at a Halloween party.
Man, this dude is foreshadowing reviews. I adjust my headphone volume there. Shadowing reviews on the mic.
Yeah, I was what's the word? DJing. I DJ'd at a Halloween party. It was fantastic. Really? I love DJing for Halloween.
Since when do you have skills on the ones and twos, sir?
I don't. I'm really just a bona fide song player, song selector. Yeah.
He was playing the part of a DJ. That was his costume.
Oh, that was there you go. I should have known. I'm sure you pulled it off. With respect, this dude with the oversized Kangol, probably had some gazelles on, came in with like the 4-finger rings.
It was pretty funny. Someone showed up with like a very modern, very digitalized entire DJ setup. And I had my analog old school mixing board set up. And I'm like, all right, everything's set up. I'm going. He's like, next one on dock. And it took him like 15 minutes to figure out how to get his output to play out through the speakers. And he didn't carry it. It was like, all he needed was like these simple cable adapters. And he didn't carry it, which... You know, I learned.
Could ruin the whole night.
I learned.
You guys have an AC?
Very long time ago. You gotta carry as many convertible adapters for audio outputs as possible.
What do you need? Audio. What do you need? RCA to a mini plug.
It was exactly that.
RCA to mini. I knew it. That's always the one.
I feel that's like DJing nowadays. It's just a laptop open with you just press play.
Oh yeah. Everything.
Do you have a place I can plug this in?
Well, everything's digital too, so it's just like you'll open up that laptop, and what do you suppose is on that screen, my friend? Digital turntables on either side.
Right, yes.
Yep,
and you see that, you're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, dude, we sound like the oldest fogies on there. I remember back when DJing was actually on wax.
I remember seeing...
Pick the dust off the DJ.
I remember seeing DJ Shadow not too long ago, and he said that he came out and he's like, you're not going to see any laptops up in here. You're not going to see any of that. And it was great. No, he was like, he was an actual DJ, but it was funny. The guy that opened for him, it was just that. It was just like laptops everywhere like that. So he just blasted his opener, without knowing.
Nice cold.
Yeah, it was great though. It was great though. Well, the difference in skill was just, it was night and day. It was amazing. But
wow.
Yeah.
That is okay. Well, you know what? I embrace both. I'm just like, dude, know your hardware, know your medium, and then have your skills up to par. Like if you go in with missing the simplest.
Well, if you're gonna run on all that stuff, you gotta have the right equipment.
Yeah.
You'd be like, can I borrow an extension cord?
Dude, I have so many excess cables and adapters and jump at my place. Like stuff I haven't used in years, but it's there if I ever need it.
Right.
Just
like a pack rat like that.
Hey, dude. Okay, I have RFU cables all over my place. When's the last time?
You never know.
If you ever need to plug in a VCR or a Betamax, I've got you.
You never know.
All right. You plug it in Betamax, and if you need to come to anyone's location and play a '78 record, I got you.
Got you.
All right.
I'll keep that in mind when
you need to run some 8-track tapes.
Actually, funny you should mention that. I actually do have a cabinet filled with a double cassette deck.
Yes.
It's part of my stack. There's it's like an amplifier, double cassette deck, equalizer.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I
love
love
my
those.
kitchen.
I still have a drawer full of cassettes. I haven't listened to in years, but I have not digitized most of them, and that's what's getting me. Because like these songs that I haven't listened to in 20 years, I might want to hear someday.
But I see cassettes coming back now. A lot of people are releasing this stuff on cassette.
Because the thing is, the quality wasn't spectacular. The quality was
decent,
good, and it was compact and portable. The thing is, now it's all
good.
It can be, but for most of us, it wasn't. I mean, come on, how many tapes did you copy over?
And doing the
that was the thing.
The pinky thing to rewind the tape.
You are old school, okay?
Exactly.
You get a number 2 pencil, my man.
Yep.
Boom.
Pencils worked really well.
Yeah, what people actually don't realize, and if anyone's watching this on twitch.tv/thegeekdown, and you should, if not, you can jump in right now if you just listen to the audio. But one of these bad boys right here, I'm holding up a big pen with the rubber grip. that rubber grip was your best friend if you wanted to rewind some audio.
Because it would get into the teeth of the winder, and you could just crank it up. Yep.
Yeah, dude. You know what? Someone actually asked me for a boombox about 6 months ago. A friend of the show, actually, who puts on shows around Boston. Keep an eye out for the Old School Game Show. Been a guest a few times. Mike D'Angelo was looking for a boombox, and I just happen to have one because I'm an old fart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
you are. Yeah.
But no, I'm happy to hear
Did you
Johnny,
loan it to him? You got
ilk.
Yeah.
No, they found another one, which was kind of a bummer because I'm like, I dug this bad boy out for nothing and felt all bad because I let it
now
get
you
dusty.
have it there, yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like sun bleach from being in a corner of the room that wasn't like blocked out from the sun.
I'm sure you could sell that on like eBay for a couple bucks.
I could,
if you really want to get rid of it.
But Adam, I can't sell the memories.
No, if you got it this long, you're not going to get rid of it. I don't think.
Yeah.
For the record, by the way, the guy that showed up slightly unprepared, he was far more skilled at DJing than I was. So
I
wanted to say that.
You sat here deriding this man's skill.
No,
this legend in the business,
he's
and
just
you
slightly
had the
unprepared.
nerve,
Slightly
the
unprepared.
the gall, sir.
He's playing a house party.
He was
probably
skilled. He
wasn't
was
taking
very,
it that
very skilled
serious.
DJ. So.
All right, Herb, real quick, talking DJ Herb off mic here. I'm getting a little distortion in in Johnny's mic. Can you check that? All right. And actually, we're going to jump right into it because I realize we're going kind of off tangent. Dude, on this show today for you, we have reviews of Owlboy and Party Hard 2. These two wonderful games that came out fairly recently. Dude, I'm so in love with Party Hard 2. With Party Hard, the series, period. And Johnny hates it with such a passion.
Oh, yeah.
So I can't wait to hear the opinions on this bad boy. And then, man, Takashi Miike is at it again for the 957th time.
Yeah, actually.
No, the man has a lot of films in his catalog, and they got to check out the latest Blade of the Immortal. We'll have the review of that coming up in a little bit, get into a discussion, and then Marvel does great things these days. They brought us Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
Oh, I can't wait to talk about it. We have the inside stuff, and I think everyone has a quick thing to say on this one. Whether or not you saw it or not, you know about Thor, you know about Marvel, and you want to taste. And I will let you know how this one tastes. Is it sour in your mouth? Is it sweet? Actually, you know what? I'm gonna stop.
Nah,
There's some really dark paths this particular metaphor can take, and we have to talk about Owlboy. I'm gonna kick it over to just Johnny.
Owlboy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Owlboy.
Yes, that was you, sir. You're the only Johnny in the room.
Yes.
He's excited for his own thing, and he forgot he was doing it.
So there's this indie game that came out almost a year ago. Got around to playing it, and it's a 2D side-scroll adventure, slight actiony, slight platformy type of game where you're playing as this humanoid owl that cannot speak. So you know how like video game tropes, they have like main characters where they can't speak? Well, this one
revolutionized by GTA 3.
Yeah, and this one is actually embedded in the story. So actually other characters, the NPCs that you interact with, will poke fun at you for not being able to speak and will assume that your character is dumber than them because you can't speak. So yeah, it's actually kind of good writing.
Yeah, that's like,
or good character design.
Okay, so bullying simulator Owlboy.
Yeah, so you're going through, and you're sort of like the village dunce in this sort of like this owl village type of thing. And
wait, so it's warranted then? You are like less intelligent than the rest of the town.
You're not. It's just
Insightful Revelation Simulator, Owlboy.
When you can't express how intelligent you are to other people, they're just going to assume the least. I mean, it's speaking is a part of your expression, and if you can't speak, then you can't fully express yourself, your thoughts, your ideas. Anyway, we're getting way off.
Yeah, a little inside. We'll have some gameplay footage up for you in a bit. Hopefully, we won't get flagged again. YouTube's been on our behinds lately, so we'll see what's going on there.
So the big mechanics on this, as I said, it's kind of like a side scroller, except that because you're an owl, you get to fly around. And there's no like power up you need to get or anything like that. You're flying right off rip, and you start off in a town, and instead of like in this sort of dire situation where you're getting into an action thing, you're in town and you're exploring the town and you're learning about the character himself and their relationship with the other people, and they sort of task you with doing like the dirty work, kind of because you are the village the dunce.
Yeah, the village idiot. Just say it.
The village idiot.
Wait, so is this one of those RPGs where I'm just doing like BS fetch quests for the whole town for no reason?
It's not an RPG. Like I said, it's more of an adventure platformer action
adventure
game.
roguelike racer.
It's an action adventure
starfighting.
platformer. The best I can say, but platformer is a little weird because you're flying around, and
it's an underwater flight simulator.
Yeah, and you can go anywhere. You can go up, down, left, or right. Usually it's like
BA
scroll left or right.
I'll stop interjecting. I'm sorry.
And so you're exploring around. You interact with the people in the town and stuff like that. The other big mechanic that you have is that you're able to grab onto stuff with your talons. So you can grab onto like vegetables that are in the ground, buried into the ground with like a little, you grab on their leaves and you pluck it out. You can also grab other people, other NPCs, grab them and carry them around. So you're flying around with these people that you're grabbing onto on their shoulders, and that ties into like the main mechanics where you're not really doing much other than flying around, and it's the people that you're carrying, the characters that you carry, they're actually doing the more interesting things. So one of the characters you get is able to shoot in all directions with his pistol, and a couple other different things. Another one you get, there's like this lady that you can carry, and she has this crutch, and she can sort of swing that crutch like a baseball bat and really beat things away. So if there's like a flying object coming at you, you can sort of baseball swat that away from you and sort of reflect it into other things. So you could picture like mechanics with like bombs that are being thrown at you. You can baseball bat it back at where it came from, or explode walls and stuff like that. So you have to use these characters that you're carrying as Owlboy in order to get through little tiny puzzles, little tiny combat situations, little tiny platforming elements. And along the way on this very linear adventure is little offshoots that you can go through and explore in order to discover some little snippets here and there. And that's kind of Owlboy in a nutshell.
Well, you told us about like the mechanics and stuff
yeah.
like you can do in gameplay, but what's your objective? What's the plot of this stuff? Because it sounds like you're a taxi, you're an errand boy,
right,
and you're like a gopher for all the other players that are actually playing the game. What do you do?
So you're sort of you're I don't know what the trope is, but you're the character that gets a dire situation sort of thrust upon you, and you are taking action just because you are in a position where you're forced to take action.
You're an unwitting hero.
Yes. So essentially, there's these pirates that just barrage the village that you're in.
Well, I'm gonna stop you right there. Anytime you mention pirates, you got to give us at least one. Arr.
They barrage
there you go,
the village that you're in, and they attack it, and it gets decimated, and you get knocked away, and you have to try to navigate your way back, and along the way you stumble across these relics, and part of getting these relics and figuring out why the pirates are actually attacking and what they're doing, they end up becoming the ultimate sort of villain as you're going through this adventure, and you discover that the pirate leader is gathering these sacred owl, this ancient owl civilization. They created these sacred artifacts, and this pirate leader is gathering all the artifacts, and along the way he is obliterating all sorts of small villages, very large cities, just by himself, using the power of these crazy powerful artifacts. He's just decimating everything in order to get all of the artifacts, all three of them, and to become essentially immortal. And as you are playing along, this stuff is actually happening as you're going through, and you are a part of it, and you're experiencing it as Owlboy and trying to stop it, and you're failing almost all the time. You go through, and nope, the enemy pirate guy, he's just getting the next relic and the next power up. You're trying to save a city.
Well, okay,
nope, he blows it all up.
Is he just like really good and sadistic, or are you just really bad at the game? Come on, Johnny, fess up.
It's not that you're bad at the game. It's just that's how the story plays out. So it's this adventure that your character is going through, and the story is unfurling as you're going through, and it's a very epic set piece for what looks like a very almost it's like friendly cartoony sprites, like 2D sprites, like a really nice looking 16-bit like Super Nintendo Genesis style game.
It looked pretty kiddie, but it looked pretty like friendly, you know, bright colors.
It does,
the artwork was very lustful.
But the story
It was a lusty kid game.
But the story is it's very dire, and there's you know, as I said, like the main character gets picked on a lot. He never gets full respect out of certain characters. He's and you know, there's people that are dying. There's graveyards. There's like these touching moments where these other characters are crying because they just lost some loved ones, and this is all happening as you're going through this sort of single player campaign like story experience. And it, as I said, it's very linear, so you're going from point A to point B to point C. So you're directed in a way, because in the way that you're directed, because this is a game where you're flying, usually you kind of associate, oh, I can fly, I can go anywhere. And that's not necessarily the case. The characters that you get sort of unlock new areas, but it's not Metroidvania. It's really just, you know, now you have this character that unlocks this whole next linear section of the world. So you're going from essentially one level to another without actually there being defined levels. And along the way, it's a very epic, grandiose adventure that is, not only does the artwork look incredible, but the music is equally incredible and suits the tone of the story really well. So
okay, see, I'm glad that matches up, because from what you were saying, it sounded like kind of a superficial game, very bright colors, and almost on rails gameplay that didn't really offer much in the term of by ways of like surprises for the player or any real challenge. It sounded like almost, I guess a good example would be maybe like Mario Party. You know, a series of mini games. You do this, you accomplish this. You go here, you accomplish this. You go here, you accomplish this, without any actual sense of progression for the player. And you're saying that's not the case, because what I'm getting, sorry, because what I'm, okay, sorry. Before I jump ahead, dude, what were your impressions? Because maybe I'm way off base here.
Yeah, it is where you're sort of hinting towards. It is something that my impression, it's just a very interesting story that you're going through with very grandiose set pieces that you are experiencing, and it's not letting up. There's no major moments where the situation starts to stagnate or anything like that, because there's always something to do. And as you're going through it, new stuff is happening, and it's happening all the time. You're either going to engage with brand new characters or go through an entire sequence. There's one entire sequence where the pirates are laying siege to the big giant city, and you are leading the defensive counterattack against the pirates. And throughout the entire thing, there are explosions going on, there's bombs being set off, you're attacking the pirates. The gameplay, as you're sort of going through some of these levels, it'll range from like solving a puzzle or doing like almost like a quasi bullet hell. You are flying around and there's enemies shooting at you, you know, bullets all over the place. So it's definitely varied, and you have to sort of utilize the different characters that you are carrying, and you can sort of switch between them on the fly, and you have to sort of avoid the attacks that are coming at you while also figuring out how to kill the enemy, not just by shooting them through like a regular means, but some of them require deflecting their own attacks against them or utilizing the environment to take them out.
Okay, so then next time, like, you start with that. I got basically a game that you could sleep through. Okay, so what would you say? End of the day, is this the thumbs up, thumbs down? Because I'm getting one, but like you threw me a couple of curves before.
It's a definite thumbs up.
Okay.
There are definitely some issues with this game.
Okay, see that right there I didn't get before. You're teasing me, John. What's going on?
And there's some game design sort of choices that they made where it's not fully streamlined. Like in the stealth sections, there's stealth sections in this game. By the way, there's a lot of like different varied gameplay, but the stealth sections.
Stealth sections. Say it with us, kids. The stealth sections by the seashore.
Yes.
All right.
Those pieces in particular, every time you encounter an enemy and they reveal you lose your stealth state or whatever.
Okay, you are banned from saying that word.
There's like this door that will drop and prevent you from leaving that room until you kill the enemy, and that happens every single time. Even if there are multiple enemies in the same room, you're going to go through this animation where the door closes on you, then you kill the enemy and the door opens again. You have to wait a few seconds, then the next enemy sees you and the door closes again.
Okay, and they're aware of this. Like the AI is like. Damn it, what's the? There's a word for perceptive AI that's escaping right now, but the AI progresses. The AI learns.
It's not that. It's just interrupting gameplay. So you're playing and you're trying to avoid getting caught, and then they catch you, and then all of a sudden you have to wait for this animation to play out before you gain back control and are able to go through. So yeah, there's like weird moments like that kind of takes away control, takes away some of the fun and the interestingness of the set pieces that are happening.
That's not too bad, as long as like the stuff is relatively minor, just those annoyances, and the rest of the game overall is. It's
very impressive especially for an indie game. It's the artwork and the music alone is like very top notch. So definitely a thumbs up from me.
All right, what's it available for?
It's available on PC. I believe it's $15, and it is coming out for other systems. I know for certain the Switch, but that's these things are later on. But for right now, PC on Steam.
All right, cool. Thank you. Just Johnny giving us the lowdown on Owlboy. If you have anything to say about that, hit us up at geekdownradio@gmail.com or shoot us a message or jump in the live chat on Twitch right now on twitch.tv/thegeekdown. But I need to go into Takashi Miike's, or Miike Takashi, depends on where you're from and how you say it. His latest film, recently released here in America, but apparently available in Japan about 6 months ago.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, yeah, no, came out in April or June of 2017. Blade of the Immortal, based off of the very popular anime manga, which DJ Herbert Herb in the background, I believe you are familiar with.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, so give us a storyline from the comic, man. What's going down?
So I think it's this is a story about an immortal samurai who travels Japan and makes a promise he was going to kill 1,000 evil men.
1,000 evil men must die.
But it turns out that feudal Japan is in black and white, and lies in a whole bunch of shades of gray. So
everybody has an intricate story.
Yeah. So yeah, he joins this like little girl who's trying to seek revenge for her family, and the story goes on from there.
All right, well, that's pretty much the way it plays out, almost exactly in the movie. In the movie, from Takashi Miike, starring now. I want to make sure I get this right because, doggone it, what's his name? Jeez. Yes, Rin Asano, played by Rina Sato. Is the little girl in question, and her acting was superb, because you don't really expect that kind of emotion from a child, and you read her facial expressions, you feel pain anytime she was embarrassed, anytime she was angry, anytime she was sad. The few times she was genuinely happy in this movie, because her story is rough, but the acting really came across far more than you'd expect for somebody so young, so I really wanted to call that out. But dude, the story is Manji is, he is a, damn, he's immortal. That's pretty much all you can say about it. He was a samurai. He wanted to get revenge on these 1,000 evil men for the death of his sister. Like, his whole family's gone, his sister.
And how old is he, do you know? You just know he's immortal, but do you know when...
well, this story takes place about 50 years after he's made immortal.
Okay.
But we don't get an original age on him at the start. So he's, I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 40, it looks like.
Sure.
And he's playing somebody 50 years after his own sister passed away, and this girl approaches him because he's recommended, oddly enough, and I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, I don't think it is, by the woman who made him immortal, to find a protector to get revenge on the evil men who, in turn, in this new age, have murdered her family. And the movie takes off from there. It's the story of one girl and her bodyguard seeking out and getting revenge on I was going to say group of assassins. Actually, they're a school trying to take over the other schools in Japan. So they're the only sword martial arts academy ever. And I guess that was a big thing in the Edo period of Japan.
Sure.
Yeah. Dude, the movie goes out of its way to have these characters all seem like this dude's like the man. This one's serious business. That one, oh my God, they got him. And then I imagine because it's a compressed, and I mean, when I say compressed, this was about 2.5 hours long. I think longer. And it didn't feel like it. Okay. But it was a long movie, but it was still compressed in the movie time. So when they introduce these characters and you think you're going to see more of them, this one's going to come back and this one's going to be big. They're going to have this huge scene. And they're dispatched fairly quick. You know, I don't think anyone specifically had more than a 10-minute arc, save for one guy who you later on think is on your side and isn't. One dude who, the main big bad. And possibly one guy who you think is a second bad. And it turns out, no, he's got a much larger role. So besides them, they introduce maybe 20 different characters that come up. They have names. They have a quick story. And I imagine that was like huge in the book. But in this film, they're in and they're out.
Right.
You know, and
they're just trying to do the service for, the recognition that it was taken from the book.
Normally, that's something I would hate. Normally, I would say that cheapened the effect so much. But the fact that this movie played out so well and respected the storyline. Nothing was played too much for laughs. Nothing was done like half-assed. They didn't cheap out on costumes or set design. The locations were, I mean, to be fair, it was all in the forest. I mean, I guess I can't praise that too much. It's like, okay, we need trees there. Okay, we need more trees there. We need trees and dirt that way.
Oh, did it look good? Yeah.
Oh, so, it looked great. Yeah, this wasn't like, in Central Park.
Right.
They didn't find a shady spot in the Commons to film this. This was on proper location, and it looked like beautiful. The costumes were amazing. I believe this was like cameras in the era. And I also believe the body damage. Because so many folks got effed up in this. This was wall-to-wall butt.
Which is what
this was wall ass beatings.
Which is what he's known for. Which is kind of a trademark for this director.
Yeah.
Is the violence and the carnage. And Audition. Happiness of the Katakuris.
Yeah,
Ichi the Killer.
And I almost said Visit a Q. Was that one of his?
Yes.
Visit a Q was one? Okay, yeah.
Sukiyaki Western Django was his as well.
Dude, so much. And he's known for just like raw
very,
violence.
very, very violent. But he also does like some children's movies. He also does some lighter fare too. But he's definitely, his trademark and what he's most known for is definitely the edgier side of the cinema.
Yeah. Winnie the Pooh, Death in the 100-Acre Woods.
Which would actually sounds like a plot to one of his movies, I'm sure. He definitely does some out there weird stuff, So he's definitely an edgy guy, and he's made, I think he has 102 director credits on IMDb.
More. I counted out a bunch of them trying to find out, because they say this movie specifically, Blade of the Immortal, is his 100th film, and it's being touted that way.
Right.
But if you actually check out his catalog, go on IMDb or Wikipedia or any of those, and you count them out, he's approaching like 110. So I mean, it's not that far off, and they're saying this one is 100 specifically. Maybe it was made at the time and they counted that, but this is.
He's doing like 15 to 20 things a year.
Yeah, Scorsese's touted as one of the best filmmakers. He's got 15 films under him.
And probably.
Maybe a
little more than that, but
maybe a little more. But look at Spielberg. Spielberg is like the name, and you say great directors, Spielberg's name comes up. Both direction and production.
Yeah, but the volume of films you make doesn't mean
this. I'm not saying. I'm just calling attention to the sheer volume here.
Right.
It's just like we have people that we tout as the greatest, and this man, just by the ratio of films, has so much more work under his belt in approximately the same amount of time. And what really threw me is, I think the most he's ever had was 9 films come out in 1 year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I have trouble committing to a project for like 6 months, and this dude,
you just
9
like how
films.
efficient you have to be as a director. You know what I mean?
Like, it's like the Borg, man.
But also, like, if something doesn't work, you know what I mean, where another director would be like, okay, let's stay here until we get it right.
Yeah,
I don't think that exists in his directing style.
Probably. Well, from what I understand, too, not all of his movies are well received. Like, some people really have problems with some of his films. The one that came out before, I'm blanking on the name. I know it starts with a T, but the one that came out before Blade of the Immortal came out last year. And everyone expected it was going to be like a really big hit, and it kind of bombed for him.
Right.
This one, I guess, technically kind of bombed too. It's only come out in Japan until now. So now Western audiences can go see it. Hopefully it'll show up the numbers. But they've been complaining online that the major reason that people think this is doing so poorly, it's only returned about 6 million, 6.4 million, I think, since its release, and it's been about 6 months out.
Okay.
So within about 6 months, and
they're not really pushing these films here. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna like harp on them too much for that. It is a story that most Western audiences, when you have Fast and the Furious movies doing like gangbusters here,
like $1 billion worldwide,
a samurai revenge movie doesn't really sound like the next Michael Bay blockbuster,
right?
You know. But I mean, this is definitely a movie people should see. I'm gonna say right now, I'm giving it a thumbs up. The gore was beautiful.
Like, yeah, he does. Like, I remember when I first saw Ichi the Killer, like how over the top violent that is, and it's just about a guy that is a sadomasochistic guy who just inflicts pain in the most over the top ways that you can imagine, and it's just so beautifully violent that it's just like you have to laugh at it almost in self-defense. You're like, wow, you know, it's one of those, an audition for how creepy and
what gets me every
gnarly
time
that film is
Audition is a story about torture, plain and simple.
Yeah.
But when the girl cuts the guy's foot off,
with
just the slow drawing of this wire. And you hear it off screen.
And when you first see it, you're like, "What is that?" Yeah, it's one of those films you should definitely seek out if you haven't heard of it or haven't seen it yet.
Yep, I would tout Blade of the Samurai as one of these must-see movies. Blade of the Immortal. Look at me.
Yeah.
Because the story itself, it throws you a lot of curves, and you wouldn't see this if you're not familiar with Takashi Miike movies. Or you expect just a general samurai movie. He fights, he works his way up the ranks to the big boss, then he fights the big boss. Maybe he loses and the girl has to fight the big boss, something like that.
I like the
everyone
Immortal.
had a story in this.
I like the Immortal kind of story. I'm like a Highlander fan, so I like the kind of, you've been around so long, you don't, the devil may care attitude, you know what I mean? You know you're going into this fight and you're not going to lose, so it's just this kind of laissez-faire attitude towards battle. It's great.
What I really loved about this one is, I'm glad you brought up Highlander, because Highlander, they have so much time on Earth, they hone their skills and they become the best swordsman ever.
Right.
This dude, no, he's not the best swordsman at all, by no means whatsoever.
Why did he have to be? You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's just like, I'm not gonna die, so do your worst. Bam, what you tired yourself out, stab. What I love too, and they got this exactly right. He's not like the greatest swordsman. He's not, really skilled or really stealthy or anything. He's just, you know what? I got weapons. Kill me. Boom. You killed me. Guess what? I came back. Oh, boom. And he throws his arms down and like 30 swords drop out of his sleeves. He's got swords. He's got spears. He's got kunai, shurikens, just dropping out blades on chains. The multi-segmented bamboo spears with the dual blade heads. He's got these signature swords that are curved, and it's like one long blade and one shorter blade. They look almost like Chinese swords, but they're somewhere between Chinese swords and battle axe, if you can imagine that. It's a little weird. You have to see it to get it. But it's just awesome. The weaponry in this was spectacular. Everything was so damn beautiful, and then it played out for laughs. That's one thing I didn't expect, because everything seemed really serious at the beginning, and the whole thing was dark and gory and gritty, and there's blood, and then people like opening wounds and like putting worms in there, and that might be a little bit of a spoiler, but if you don't know the story, that means nothing to you. But it was beautifully gory and disgusting, but also when you see him, like someone stabs him in the chest, you thought you were going to stand up with me, and then he's just like, ugh, And they start to walk away, and he gets up. Ugh.
Yeah, that's what I mean when I said I laughed.
Chest,
you know, I laughed at the violence. You have to almost because it's so crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's just so you can do nothing but laugh or turn the TV off. You know what I mean? But
and I also want to call it the acting because one thing that I did notice that you see the baddies, the bad guys at the start of this movie, and they just seem like the worst people ever. And then most of them are, and they show themselves to be. But a couple of them, they get a chance to tell like their story. And most of them. One of them is just like, oh no, you are the most messed up person ever in the history of messed up people. And Herb, if you've no, I'm talking about. Yeah. But some of them are just absolutely brilliant. You hear the story of one of the other multiple one of the enemy assassins, and it's just like, oh, this dude has a sympathetic story, and he's kind of along the same lines as our hero, and I want to see more from this dude. And then nope, he's out. That was my actual beef with the movie, that it didn't give us it teased a lot of this.
Yeah.
And if I want the full stories of these people, I may have to go back and read the manga, which I guess would serve for them, but as an audience member, I feel a little robbed. It makes you sympathize. Okay, now I'm complaining about good acting.
Yeah.
Jeez, okay, but it makes you sympathize for the big bad villain, because when you find out his story,
it's like why we like Tony Soprano, you know what I mean?
True, but it's just like, dude, yeah, you got the rawest of raw deals, but that doesn't justify like what you did. We still hate you.
Yeah.
We forgot we hated you for a minute. You know, I mean, you did a good job there, but dude, you are horrendous and awful, and this movie made you feel that anger, and I love that. This gets a thumbs up. Completely. It's Takashi Miike's Blade of the Immortal. It's available now in theaters, but you have to find like a local indie theater. So if you have one of those in your in your region, maybe like an Alamo Draft House. We have the Kendall Theater here, which is odd because we have like 3 or 4 different independent theaters. It's only playing at one of them. It's only playing at the Kendall and Salem, which I guess technically isn't in our region.
No.
Yeah, so it may be a little hard to find, but I highly recommend it. It's Blade of the Immortal by Takashi Miike.
And check out the guy's work too.
Absolutely, thumbs up.
If you can't get to this one, check out his past stuff, which is great. A lot of good
Visit
stuff.
a queue if you have visit a queue or audition if you have a really strong stomach.
Yep.
Ichi the Killer and less so. That's more of a I just want to see some dudes get messed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reflect on the memory, Adam. Reflect on the memory.
It's so good.
All right, but no, if you have anything to say about those, hit us up at geekdownradio@gmail.com. Let us know what's good, or hopefully you catching us on twitch.tv/thegeekdown. Jump into the chat, talk to us. Let us know what's happening. I'm gonna kick it back over to just Johnny because my man, I know you're excited for it. I know you're jazzed. He got to play Party Hard 2, a game series, mind you, that I myself have enjoyed for a long time, and Johnny I know has a warm place for in the cockles of his heart. Party Hard, sir. What do you
Deep
think?
inside, Party Hard. So this is the sequel to Party Hard. It's called Party Hard 2.
Yes.
It's how to describe it? It's a 2D gameplay. I have to say gameplay because they spruce up the graphics phenomenally.
Yeah, they've stepped it up a little bit on some Mega Man 2.5 type stuff.
Yeah, it's got like that 2.5D style visuals, but it's still using sprite-based character assets and also sort of spritey looking sort of textures and objects. But they're
more
in 3D.
7 Up with my games.
Yeah, and
oh come on, that was good. Shane, what do you know from funny?
So you're playing in these very they're sort of these boxed off areas, these small little maps, and there's tons of people littered throughout the map, and they are generally, for the most part, most of them are partying. They're having a good time. There's also other sections to the map. In the first one, it was really just one party. It was like a house party here or a factory party there.
Well, there was DLCs that would add new levels and new dimensions of killing, but essentially in this one, it's just you and the locations, which do change, right?
They do change. So this is a alpha build, early access.
It's a curmudgeon neighbor murder simulator.
No. Well, all right. So maybe that's the case, but there's no story. So this is this is an alpha. There's no story in here at all. It's just you have 3 levels to select from. It's very limited. So,
so Johnny, you got to make up your own story.
You got to make up your own
story.
Look,
I'm over here just trying to do my taxes. And the people next door having their frat parties. Or actually, no, you're in the suburbs.
You are all right. So one map is at a bar. Another one is at a
the
hospital.
bikers next door enjoying their sports games and their footballs and their baseballs, and I can't have this.
Yeah, so it's like
I got a lawn to mow.
It's like a bar, a club, and a hospital. But for some reason,
okay,
they're
people
having
next door doing their LSDs and their PCPs and their BLTs. I can't have this. I got frisbees to trap on the roof.
And for whatever reason, they're having a party inside of a hospital, which is a little weird. Yeah.
All right, you got the employees there celebrating their Christmases with costumes and Chardonnays and having their key parties at home and stuff and ruining friendships and such. I can't have this. I got fists to shake at neighborhood kids.
So, like the first one, you have to
too much 1950s TV, man.
So, like the first one, you have to go around and stealth kill a bunch of people, and you can use the environment to your advantage to help kill people or to potentially distract. On the first one, it wasn't very well executed. None of the traps or environmental things that you could queue off reset, so you can't reuse any of them. That's the same thing here. You can't reuse anything, but they do have these items. Or this item system that you can now use, and some of these items are not single use only. So, for example, you could pick up a bottle of alcohol and then go around to all the various people, and there's a lot more people in this, and just give them alcohol.
You can finally get away from this murderous, these murderous inklings you have, and party with the rest of the world.
Well, you can hand people the alcohol, and they drink, and then they can get sick, and then they'll start find a secluded area to then barf into, and then while they're
it's the Bill Cosby simulator?
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
Okay. Not okay.
And then when they're barfing, you can sort of stealth kill them if need be, or you can sort of be like a creeper, and if you try to feed them the alcohol twice, like really force it on them, they'll run away from you. They'll go in the other direction. So you can sort of use that to your advantage to sort of, if you have like 3 people in a room, one of them you have to kill, the other 2 you don't want there to also see you kill them. Yeah. So you can feed them the alcohol, they'll run away, and then it'll leave you and your target alone in that room, and then you can stealth kill them and throw them in a dumpster or whatever.
Okay, as funny as that is to me, that is messed up.
That is a good mechanic. They're
going to get letters about that.
It is a good mechanic. It works well, and especially in this type of game where there's a lot of people here.
We're talking about the special Bill Cosby, Danny Masterson DLC.
Don't.
It's some horrible stuff. Like Herb, I think his sensibilities have been offended.
Yeah. The biggest.
That's why we left the room.
The biggest change that they have here was that in the first one you had to kill everyone and be the last person at the party, which was
a bigger challenge than it sounds.
It was a huge challenge. It's still challenging with the change that they made now. The change now is that you have a set of objectives on who to kill, and then once you meet those, satisfy those objectives, you can leave that particular map. So for example, kill like 6 dealers and kill a witness who's in intensive care, kind of thing. Once you kill them, boom, you're done with that map, and you can exit out.
No chill. You find some poor terminal patient.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way. You're playing Guardian Angel, the people with chronic illness, right?
I believe they were. Well, there's no story, so you kind of have to make it up. So for you, it's that. For me, it was
you have to, cast your own story on it. These people, they have no hope. They've given up on life, and you are the benevolent figure who's going from room to room with a pillow to smother them. And
a knife.
And they're okay. Wow.
There was no pillow, but there are knives.
I'm trying really hard to paint a positive spin on this. You're like, I can send them away peacefully. You're like, no, you stab them in the forehead.
If it was an insane asylum, then you could use the pillow and then you take a sink and throw it out the window.
I'm glad you went with me on that one.
So that's essentially Party Hard. It's like a stealth kill game, but there's a lot of people, so you have to sort of coordinate who's going where, and you can set off these traps and cause people to panic and to run away. But the moment someone sees you kill someone or sees you do something suspicious, boom, the cops are there, and they're going to run all the way around. The cops are significantly more able than you are. You have a limit to how far and how fast you can run, and then after that you become winded and you have to stop in order to regain your stamina. So running away from cops is almost impossible in this.
Can I like fight them or anything, or can I cast doubt on the scapegoat?
You cannot fight them. They will beat you down every single time. The only thing you can
Much like being
do,
black in America.
The only thing you can do is set up some traps and lure them into the trap, and then kill the cops as they get lured into there. So it has this element of Home Alone in there, and that's it actually does.
I was thinking Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something. This dude said Home Alone.
Yeah, it's like Home Alone where you know the cops are coming after you. You have traps waiting. You just sort of set off the trap and wait just behind it. And the AI is like exceptionally stupid when it comes to like the cops and chasing you down. They just directly chase you down
and they die, much
and
like in
die.
Home Alone.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Like Herb and Marv should have died repeatedly. This dude fell like off a building. Was like impaled on various things. Tetanus alone from stepping on the nail should have taken him out.
They got an hot iron to the face.
Yeah, burned so many times.
Oh, yeah.
Gas.
My favorite is the electricity in the second one.
And
he turns into the bones, just screaming at the top of his lungs.
All right, so you're saying Party Hard is the Home Alone simulator?
It is the sadistic Home Alone simulator, but you're not alone and you're not home. You're at a party. Many parties. Or a hospital.
I'm not hearing anything bad here. You said it's improved from the original version. You've said you can use all types of interesting, creative mechanics to kill these horrible people. How dare they have a good time when you're not? Dude, this sounds awesome to me.
It's a significant step up in the right direction. I like what they're doing here. There's nowhere near enough content in here. It's only 3 levels. It's still exceptionally hard to beat just one of these levels because the cops are just on you way too much, and your ability to sort of divert the cops is very limited. Like I said, these traps are only one-time use, and even then, like, if you're not in the right area, the cops are going to chase you down. There's these and you can kind of cheat the AI too, where there's like these little shortcuts that can teleport you from one side of the map to the other, like a manhole. You go in through one manhole on one side, you appear on the other, and every time you do that, the cops are gonna chase you all across the other side of the map, but they won't take the manhole. So they're stupid. They're just gonna go from one side to the other as you're bouncing back and forth. So you can cheat the AI, but they never let up, so they're always chasing you, and that's
Seymour Skinner.
It just becomes like this,
like some giving up.
It's like a test of endurance, of mental endurance. Like, how long will it take for the cops to finally let up?
Dude, you know how great this is? It's just you and the local authorities in a cat and mouse game to the death. This Friday.
So for that,
in a world where.
So for that reason, many others, in addition that this is an alpha game, it's early access and it's early paid access, I definitely don't recommend it, but I will say keep an eye on it because compared to the first one, this is a huge setup, both graphically. The music is definitely monotonous, but, alpha, I'm not, docking it too much on there. And for a party game, it should have some killer music, and there's like 2 songs that were actually decent, and then the other songs were just annoying to listen to.
Well, you only say that because you're a big fancy DJ now. That's all.
I was going to say, maybe he was DJing this party.
But keep an eye on it, and it might turn into something slightly special, slightly good. But for right now, you can ignore it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it, man. It sounded like it was going in the right direction.
It is in the right direction. So. But it's not worth the money that they're asking for right now.
All right. Okay, that's Party Hard 2. Johnny says, pace yourself, and give it time. It'll probably get better.
It might, hopefully. Yeah.
Okay, it'll hopefully
it can only get better.
Pessimist, just Johnny, says it'll get better over his dead body.
Over my dead.
All right.
Over your dead body at this point. All right. Okay. We have to go into. This daggone flick. Nobody wanted to see it. How dare? No, I'm kidding. Thor Ragnarok, the latest movie put out by Marvel Studios. The continuing story of not just the character of Thor, but also the character of Loki and the Hulk, who we haven't seen or gotten really any information on since the Avengers Age of Ultron. So this kind of ties together 3 different stories that we've kind of been anxious about. And man, I enjoyed the heck out of this.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've been so jazzed about a Marvel movie. The rest have just been, okay, so let's get this out of the way so I can continue the story. This was, it got a lot of positive pre-press, and I was really anxious to see where they would take the story. And the fact that this one was touted to be a comedy, and in turn was a comedy. It was more lighthearted than the previous ones have been. This one kind of blew my mind. How about you?
This one kind of, they discovered, like, wow, this guy's really funny. Let's use that. And they should have been doing that all along. Because I thought Thor, the franchise, was probably my least favorite of all the Marvel ones.
Hey, you mentioned that. I was surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it just, the first two really didn't do it for me. I think the first one was okay. Like I said, it was kind of more man out of time, out of place, trying to figure it out, which is kind of fun in a Crocodile Dundee type of way.
But I usually don't like those. What really got me there was everything that should be really goofy in the design was taken fairly seriously. Like things like the Rainbow Bridge, they made a logical reason why we would have a bridge that might appear as a rainbow.
Yeah,
the whole thing was like one big prism.
That's the first two for sure. They were just way too serious, and then they kind of loosened the reins and let him kind of improvise a little bit more. And like, he's a funny guy.
Chris Hemsworth?
So I thought this is the right direction they're taking it in, and it's definitely the one I enjoyed the most. I definitely like where they're taking it. So
I concur. This one I thought was just a smash hit. I'll give you the rundown real quick. Imprisoned on the other side of the universe, the mighty Thor finds himself in a deadly gladiatorial contest that pits him against the Hulk, his former ally and fellow Avenger. Thor's quest for survival leads him in a race against time to prevent an all-powerful Hela. Hela being played by Cate Blanchett. Hela's a new character introduced, and she's Thor's sister, Thor and Loki's sister. Not illegitimate, but estranged. Hela from destroying his home world and the Asgardian civilization. And the story itself kind of ham-fists a lot of story elements that were necessary for the tale, but were really half-assed in the presentation. So I'm glad that the core story was Hela is a evil presence that need to be stopped. Everything else is just kind of like the means to that end.
Right.
And they bring up a lot of times they need to prevent Ragnarok. Ragnarok is this whole big thing that's gonna be great. Ragnarok is a red herring, and that got me like right away. Like I was, because my whole thing was, it's Ragnarok. They're gonna prevent Ragnarok. There's been comics about Ragnarok. Ragnarok's gonna be a thing. As far as I know, Ragnarok is that, and that like B tier ship from Final Fantasy VII. You know, so.
Isn't there a Battletoads that took place in Ragnarok too?
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
They made a big deal out of this whole thing, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be corny, one big pointless event that I've seen 100 times. And the way they presented it and then utilized that particular event was clever. I thought it was very refreshing to see a different take on it, and I like the fact that it was placed strategically within this story. That was one of the big things that got me. Besides that, Chris Hemsworth, I think, really came out of his shell in this one. He wasn't just playing a dumb, kind of confused, slab of muscle.
Yeah.
He didn't.
And you're partnering him with the Hulk, which I thought they buddied up well together.
Yeah, totally.
And I think throwing them together in their own movie was the right idea. And plus, when you throw Jeff Goldblum in anything, it's brilliant casting. So I thought that was fantastic.
Well, Marvel finds a way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What I really like is, you add Jeff Goldblum to anything, you immediately improve.
You gotta do the laugh. You gotta do the Goldblum laugh.
Yeah, I can't do it, but
you can't do the Goldblum laugh.
No.
Oh, okay. Just think Ian Malcolm.
Was he bare chested at any moment?
He was not.
Aww.
To be fair, though, Jurassic Park was 20 plus years ago, so some things have started to sag, undoubtedly. Even it's been a long time since he was Scott Woolley on Will and Grace. So I mean, let the old man be old. He's still very amusing. In this movie, I saw it with Mix Macabre, correspondent who actually couldn't make it on the show today, but I will use their words. Jeff Goldblum is a treasure.
He is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very amusing part of this film. He played the Grandmaster,
Grandmaster, yeah.
Who's the brother of the Collector, who we saw at the, in parts of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Benicio del Toro's character, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they're going to bring the two of them together, because some really good Marvel stories have come from the two of them, gambling with each other. And it's the Collector versus the Grandmaster, and they bring like X-Men and Avengers characters, and Spider-Man, and all these characters into arenas to fight each other, to play out their own like sinister obstacle courses, kind of like Arcade, the Marvel Villain Arcade on a grand scale.
Well, it's kind of like, the old Roman Empire where they're just throwing all these random animals in to fight each other. It's kind of like doing that with humans and other beasts and things like that.
Including the fight scene between the Hulk and Thor in this movie, which a lot of the trailer featured this fight, and it's 1/100th of the overall picture.
Right.
This was a long movie, but they did show a good amount of that fight, but that is nowhere near the the big event of this film, which I like because I was afraid that was going to be like one of the big things. Oh, who's finally going to make it out?
Right away,
yeah. Also, I love that it was just like a 1 minute thing. They actually did have them have it out, and it didn't take too much time, but it took just enough time so we could actually see a fight.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a plot device kind of throwing them in. And when they showed the Grandmaster's Arena, we caught a lot of Easter eggs from the Marvel Universe that you will know, identify, and have those moments if you did pick up on them. If you didn't, then it's just, that looks really cool. Oh, that guy's really that I'm amazed by that. I'm impressed by that. That seems awesome. Why is that shiny? Stuff like that. I like that. As a comic fan, I appreciate that because it shows somebody was paying attention beyond just Marvel wants to make a movie and earn another, a quick buck.
Yeah, I think they were paying attention in general. I think they knew Thor was kind of like one of the lesser franchises in a way, in terms of being a little bit boring, a little bit too stiff.
Yeah, and not for lack of trying. They've done tons of stuff over the years, which was kind of reflected in this picture.
Yeah.
The different costumes, the helmet change.
Yep. The hair, he cut his hair and all that.
The worthy, unworthy, the destruction of Mjolnir.
But these
aren't spoilers. This is all stuff in the trailers.
They definitely have been paying attention, though. And like I said, when you cast Goldblum, you improve anything. And I think one thing that Marvel succeeded at, if I can point to one thing that they're doing better than DC, which is there's 1,000 things they're doing better, but it's definitely the casting. And they've casted so perfectly in so many roles where, you look at DC and you're like, that guy really? You just don't think it. They just seem to find the perfect person for each role. And I think that's what's carrying these movies in a lot of ways. Like, they find the guy that can, legitimately carry each story, you know what I mean, and make them interesting. So I think this is definitely the best one so far, and I'm actually now, and not in casting, but just in this film holds up better than the first two.
Yes.
So I'm for the first time I'm excited about a Thor character, and I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do next.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I really have to applaud Cate Blanchett, who is new to the Marvel Universe, and she blended in this with it's like she's been there the whole time.
Yeah, she's pretty lovely too.
Who the hell's Hela? I'm Hela. Crush this, kill that, break this, take over this. It was perfect. And Anthony Hopkins is my only real beef with this. I feel like he phoned it in.
Yeah, he's been phoning it in for a long time. He was in the last Transformers movie too. I'm like, what is Anthony Hopkins doing?
You know what's unfortunate? I blame that on the writing, but after seeing this, I think it's mostly just he knows he's Anthony Hopkins. They're gonna pay me my money whether or not I do a great job.
Yeah.
So unlike Meryl Streep, it's just like, no, I'm just gonna. I was here for a couple days. Pay me. I'm going.
He's
I'm
more
going
into intense character studies type of an actor. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
this is kind of
character study. It's this deep, dark story of one prince's battle with being unworthy of stepping into his father's shoes.
But he also doesn't have enough screen time to really get it either. So I think he's just kind of trying to chew the fat while he's there, and then.
Okay, so fault maybe had on both sides of what you're saying.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, I can kind of see that.
Or maybe they cut him out. He was doing such a bad job that they cut more sequences out.
I don't know.
I didn't consider it from that point. Yeah, that would make sense.
Sorry, Anthony Hopkins, you're doing a poor job. I don't think there's anything ever said.
How did you ever get cast in roles?
Yeah, they're focus testing it, and all of a sudden they're like, these scenes here with Anthony Hopkins, it's dull compared to everything else.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because this movie had a lot of momentum, which I'm surprised it didn't lose. It starts off with Thor in a funny scene, and then he goes back to Asgard. You think now it's going to be a lot of plot development. Nope, it jumps right into action with him and Loki. Loki having a larger presence in this film, having the biggest presence he's had since maybe the first Avengers movie.
Yeah,
which is good. I'm glad Tom Hiddleston has a lot to do in this movie. I really like him and his portrayal of Loki. I'm glad
he's definitely a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We're introduced to a few new characters too, including Valkyrie. which is a character that had a larger role in the books. So they were kind of, no, I won't say a side character, but they're supporting when they should probably be one of the forefront characters.
Yeah,
which isn't a bad thing.
Featured more, sure.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just they're introducing the character now, played by Tessa Thompson. But I would have liked to have seen a little more. And I mean, you do see a lot, but with all the action going on in this movie, there was just so much happening at once. I was hoping that each one would get like their own little vignette portion.
A little bit more Idris Elba would always been good too.
Well, they gave Idris Elba a certain amount. To be honest, his character in this Heimdall he's the doorman, and you don't really expect much more than him. He had a real cool scene in the first movie, and then nothing else.
He was frozen pretty much the whole time. Then all of a sudden he's like, I'm unfrozen.
Well,
how are you gonna have Idris Elba then freeze him? Yeah.
No one's been frozen that sincerely since Sub-Zero.
I'll give him that. Yeah.
Yeah. They did just kind of make it seem like we have Idris Elba. We want to make sure you see him. But they didn't write much for the character. So I'm glad we at least got to have him in this, hopefully.
But that's just a wealth of riches, you know, when you think of Marvel. It's like, wow, we have a guy that we freeze, and he's played by Idris Elba.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, how spoiled are you?
Jeez, dude. Let's get Oscar winner Tom Cruise to play Shoeshine Boy number 3.
Right. He's on screen for 30 seconds.
Yeah, the unsung Marvel character, the living speed bump.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, let me call out the cast real quick. We mentioned Chris Hemsworth. We mentioned Cate Blanchett, Tom Hiddleston, Tessa Thompson. Korg is another character played by Taika Waititi. And I didn't name the man.
Right.
He did a good job. It was funny. It was a funny role. I thought that was a couple other people though, so I'm actually kind of surprised. But they played this for laughs, and it wasn't just like you see Loki doing zany things, you see Thor doing zany things. You see characters that are less serious but still as prevalent in the tale. They're not hokey. This isn't Jerry Lewis coming in to stumble over stuff. This was written cleverly. That's the main thing I took away from this. I was very surprised by a very few beefs. It was a funny Stan Lee cameo too. I won't give that away, but it's a really brief role that mattered in the longevity of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, there's a lot of Easter eggs I wish I could get into. Most of them would be spoilers. There are characters that you wouldn't expect to see that you do see. There are homages to characters that you see that aren't in the picture, but if they were, it would have. I may have wet myself with joy. It would have been too much. This I think is my favorite. Well, it's my favorite of the Thor movies. Easily.
Right. Yeah.
But I think this holds in this. This may be one of my top 3 in the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was very enjoyable. I walked in ready to ready to see an okay movie. I walked out like this is an absolute thumbs up. It was just so damn enjoyable. I walked out smiling. I want to see it again.
Yeah,
it was just too damn fun.
That's definitely the Thor movie I've been waiting for.
Yep, absolutely. They integrated Jeff Goldblum's character. I'll say pretty spot on, because it seems like he would be really forcing their kind of ham-fisted attempt at getting in someone new for comedic effect, but it carried the story forward in a way that was, I don't know what else to say. It just worked.
Yeah.
It's
like they all of a sudden realized, like I said, they're all like, wow, this guy's really funny. Let's use that. You know what I mean? We've been wasting him.
Yeah.
Trying to be too serious, too self-serious, a little stiff, like I said. And then we're like, wow, just give him a little bit, loosen the reins a little bit, let him improvise a little, and it definitely paid off. And I'm glad I hope they continue to do that and let him, have a little bit more free reign to be funny and to be him. To bring something else to this character, because I think that's what it needed. And
I'm hoping they team up with the Collector, because the two of them I think would be solid. Goldblum on his own might be a little much. This movie diffused him just enough
to watch Benicio del Toro and Jeff Goldblum do an entire movie together. That would be the best buddy movie ever.
What would they
since Tango and Cash.
Since Tango and Cash, really?
Since Tango and Cash, probably the best.
Okay, so look out for Goldblum and Del Toro in Turner and Hooch too. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm waiting to see how they integrate this with maybe Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because they did that with the first Thor movie. The second movie alluded to it. This seems like the most relatable to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., or at least the one that they've made interact the most with the TV show. So with the upcoming season, I'm kind of anxious to see how they'll do it, because Thor with this picture has gone full cosmic now. Very little of, actually, I don't think any of this took place on Earth.
No.
They fleshed out the Hulk's character tremendously, which was great. but now you've got this new element to play with. So how are they going to make this tie into the other works, besides maybe Guardians of the Galaxy? I'm anxious to see it, and there was a Thanos presence. And also, some of the Easter eggs definitely affected our perceptions of the previous Easter eggs. So, I mean, that's all I can say without spoiling.
It's a little convoluted, but it makes sense when you watch it a little.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, I got to give this one a thumbs up. It's Thor Ragnarok. It's playing in theaters now. I highly recommend it. Adam?
Yes. Everything you said, yes.
2 thumbs up? Thumbs up all the way?
Just a good, stiff thumbs up.
Nice.
Sure.
Nice. All right, Thor Ragnarok earns our seal of approval. Check it out. And I want to thank DJ Herbert Herb. I want to thank Just Johnny.
You.
I want to thank Black Adam Willis.
Yes, sir.
And I want to thank you fine people for joining us on another action-packed, fun-filled episode of the Geek Down here on WEMF Radio. You can catch us right here on Monday nights, 9 p.m. But also, you can hit us up at geekdownradio@gmail.com if there's anything you heard on the show you want to chime in on, or just want to rap with us back and forth. Or also, hopefully you're watching us on twitch.tv/thegeekdown. If you weren't, you can jump in there and catch our earlier episodes. You can see the live show broadcast, and you can jump in on the live chat and talk to us then. Also, check us out on YouTube. Find us on Facebook and on Twitter, on SoundCloud. The clips are all over the mother. You can subscribe on iTunes. Dude, leave us a good review, hopefully. And man, we are all up in this piece, but now we are all up out this biz. So hopefully you catch us next time. Same bad time, same bad channel. But until then, be excellent to each other. Peace.